You've done everything they told you. You were responsive, respectful, consistent. You answered texts right away. You made time, even when it inconvenienced you. You cleared your schedule when she was free. You let her set the pace. And somehow, you ended up in her friend zone. Or worse, her ignored list. She said you were sweet. She said she wasn't ready. She said you deserve someone amazing. Translation? She felt nothing. All this time, you've been showing up like a polite applicant waiting for a job interview she never scheduled. Thinking that availability equals value. Thinking that consistency is attraction. Thinking that if you're always there, eventually she'll choose you. She won't. Because the truth is brutal. What's always available never feels valuable. And what doesn't feel valuable never becomes addictive. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to kill the disease of availability and become the one man she can't stop thinking about. She doesn't consciously know it, but her nervous system is trained to chase tension, not comfort. Not the kind of tension that hurts, the kind that hooks. It's why she checks the phone when the unpredictable guy goes quiet. It's why she rewatches a stranger's story after just 3 seconds of eye contact. It's why the man who didn't smile, who didn't try, is the one she dreams about at night. Because deep down, her mind isn't asking, "Does he like me?" It's asking, "Why can't I stop thinking about him?" And that question creates obsession. You never got that reaction because you made yourself obvious. You left no mystery. You gave without pause. You showed her she had you, completely, immediately, effortlessly. And that killed the spark. Not because kindness is bad, but because you gave what hadn't been earned. And anything unearned feels disposable. You thought presence was proof of loyalty. But to her, it read as desperation. She didn't say it, but she felt it. If this guy is so available, who else is choosing him? Why is his schedule this open? Why does he always reply before I even lock my phone? She might not phrase it that way, but her brain registers the imbalance. And once that imbalance forms, where she knows you want her more than she wants you, she starts slipping. She starts pulling back, not out of cruelty, but out of instinct. And you double down. You get more thoughtful, more consistent. You plan surprises. You send just thinking of you messages. You tell her it's okay if you're busy, I understand. You become her emotional valet, and she lets you, until one day, she disappears. You wonder what went wrong. You scroll through messages trying to find the exact moment she shifted. You think maybe if you were more confident, more assertive, more romantic. No, the problem wasn't what you lacked. The problem was how easily she had you. Because in her world, real value doesn't chase. It attracts. It creates space. It gives her room to reach, to question, to feel. See, it's in the space between certainty and silence that her obsession forms. Not because you played games, but because you didn't flood her system. When you stop being constantly available, you stop being noise. And you become signal. You become the notification she actually wants to see. Not because of what you said, but because of the silence that came before it. And here's the paradox. When you finally learn how to create that silence, to let go of the outcome, to stop pressing for attention, you stop needing her. And that's exactly when she starts needing you. Not because you've vanished, not because you've punished her with distance, but because you've reclaimed your gravity. The kind of gravity that can't be bought, that can't be borrowed from a dating coach or squeezed out of fake alpha bravado. It only comes from alignment, from a man who's so locked into his path, his purpose, his pace, that even when a beautiful woman walks into his life, she doesn't slow him down. She has to keep up. That's the frequency she feels. That's what makes her start to orbit. Because now you're the event. You are the force. And don't get it twisted, this isn't arrogance. It's not posturing or playing hard to get. It's not about who texts first. It's not about waiting 3 days or crafting the perfect response. It's deeper. It's a vibe she feels before she hears your voice. A calm pressure, a centered intensity, like standing next to a lit fuse you're not even watching. You're not showing off. You're not withholding. You're just complete. And in that completion, she starts to feel her own lack, her own craving, her own desire to be chosen by something real. Not a man who makes her the center of his universe, but one who already has a universe and simply decided to let her visit. That's what she obsesses over. Not a text, not a compliment, not a gift, but the energy of being near someone who doesn't bend. She'll test it too. Don't be surprised. She'll pull away slightly. She'll flirt with someone else just within view. She'll take a little longer to reply. Not because she's evil, but because she's watching. Watching to see if you flinch, if you drop everything and chase, if you collapse the frame you built just to win her back. And if you do, she's gone. But if you stay composed, stay focused, stay in motion, she leans in. Not immediately, sometimes not consciously, but inevitably. Because nothing haunts the feminine psyche more than a man who doesn't break character. Not a character you're acting, but the character you are. She might not even understand it. She might deny it. Say you're too mysterious or hard to read. She'll pretend it bothers her. But late at night, when the world is quiet, when her phone isn't lighting up, she'll think of you, wonder what you're doing, if you ever really liked her, if she blew her chance, if you were more than she realized. And that wondering, that's the seed. That's what turns a crush into an obsession. Not certainty, but curiosity. Not validation, but presence. Not effort, but essence. You don't become unforgettable by performing. You become unforgettable by standing still, while the world tries to move you. And now you get it. Why every effort you made before, the compliments, the texts, the strategy, fell flat. It's not because you weren't good enough. It's because you were too available. You broadcasted your interest before she earned it. You gave energy before she felt your presence. You chased approval before she had reason to miss you. That's what kills attraction. Certainty without mystery. Emotion without weight. Action without energy. Because here's the truth that most men will never hear. Women don't obsess over what's easy. They obsess over what's felt. And felt isn't loud. It's not flashy. It's not reactive. It's dense. Like standing next to someone who doesn't speak, but says everything with how they breathe. She feels that. She notices when your shoulders don't tense in discomfort. She notices when your eyes stay locked just a second longer than usual. She notices that you aren't rushing to fill silence, because silence doesn't threaten you. You don't need the conversation to go anywhere. You don't need her to like you. You don't need the moment to work, because you already work. You already exist in completeness. And women crave that completeness more than they'll ever admit. Not because they want a man who needs no one, but because they want a man who needs nothing, and still chooses them. That's a drug. That's the hit they chase. And the more rare that energy is, the more addictive it becomes. You've seen it, haven't you? That one guy who walks into a room and says nothing, but every woman glances his way. He's not the loudest. He's not the best looking. He's not even doing anything. But his being says everything. It says, I've walked through fire and didn't lose myself. I'm not afraid to be alone. I don't need to be understood to be powerful. And that is what echoes. Because most men are noise. And this man, he's signal. You've spent your life trying to be noise she likes. Trying to be sweet enough, strong enough, clever enough to stand out. But the second you stop trying and start embodying, she feels the shift. Because now you don't orbit her. You anchor her. You bring her back to something still and unmoving. And in a world of overstimulation and emotional chaos, that stillness becomes the most attractive force in the room. But again, this isn't a trick. It's not a strategy. It's not something you perform when the date starts and drop when the night ends. It's a way of living, a way of holding yourself, a way of walking through the world with the quiet, brutal honesty that says, I'd rather walk alone in truth than follow anyone in pretense. I'm not here to be chosen. I'm here to choose. That mindset, that frequency, it speaks without sound. It touches without hands. It moves her without moving toward her. And once she's felt it, she'll search for it again. Not because you played her, not because you manipulated her, but because for one brief moment, she was near something real, something rare, something powerful. And the human mind doesn't forget that, especially not the feminine mind, because she isn't just drawn to men who make her laugh, or men who flatter her, or men who say the right things. She's drawn to depth, to danger, to mystery, and the deeper you go into yourself, the more power your silence holds. So when she pulls back, when she tests you, when she flirts with someone else to see if you'll crack, you don't chase, you don't flinch, you don't adjust your frequency, you maintain. Because a grounded man doesn't chase chaos. He watches it, then decides if it deserves his calm. And that decision, that calm decision, it's what flips her entire frame. Because she's not used to it. She's used to men who bend, beg, fold. Men who treat her tests as commands. Men who confuse attraction with compliance. But not you. Not anymore. You've grown beyond the scripts. Beyond the pickup lines. beyond the approval addiction that poisons so many good men. Now you understand. Attraction isn't about being chosen. It's about being undeniable. And here's what that really means. You don't win her over with what you say. You win her over by how deeply you're rooted. You don't chase chemistry. You become the element. When she tries to push your buttons, she finds there aren't any. When she tries to read you, she finds pages missing. And that blank space, it keeps her up at night. Because the mystery isn't about hiding who you are. It's about being so authentic, so fully centered, that no amount of guessing can reduce you to a type. You're not a flirt. You're not a player. You're not the nice guy. You're not the bad boy. You're just you. Unmoved, undistracted, unapologetically whole. And that presence, it changes how she breathes. It changes how she walks. It changes how she remembers you in the middle of the night, long after the loud guys have been forgotten. Because you didn't perform. You didn't dance for her affection. You didn't need her to validate you. You let her feel the power of choice, the rare and haunting truth that you could have her, but only if she met your standard. And now she's wondering, do I measure up to him? Not the other way around. That question, it lives rent-free in her mind. Not because you planted it, but because your existence made it impossible to avoid. You see, most guys are easy to forget, easy to predict, easy to replace. But the man who doesn't chase, he creates a gap no one else can fill. She'll feel it when she's with the next guy. She'll hear it in the silence after the date. She'll replay the look you gave her. Not lustful, not needy, just steady. A look that didn't ask. A look that didn't plead. A look that simply said, I see you, and walked away. That walk-away energy, it's not arrogance. It's not cruelty. It's sovereignty. It's what happens when you no longer hand over your power in exchange for connection. It's what happens when you realize, if she doesn't see your worth, that's her loss, not your failure. Because you know who you are, you know where you're going, and you know that the right woman won't just feel your vibe. She'll rise to meet it. So if she's spiraling now, if she's lurking on your socials, if she's replaying that night in her mind, let her. You didn't leave breadcrumbs. You left presence. And that's harder to forget than any line, gift, or plan. Because deep down, every woman remembers the man who didn't ask for her attention. He just made her want it. And now, you don't need to reach out. Because she's already reaching. In her thoughts. In her quiet moments. In the spaces where lesser men fall short. All because you finally stopped chasing. And started becoming. And that becoming, it's the reason her memory of you doesn't fade. It sharpens. You weren't loud. You weren't perfect. You weren't trying to be some fantasy. You were just undeniably rooted. And that energy? It's rare. It's primal. It cuts through her filters, her logic, her rehearsed indifference. She might not even like how much she thinks about you. She might try to brush it off. She might go back to the apps. Date the safe guy. The eager one. The predictable one. The guy who asks if she got home okay before she's even left the bar. But none of them bring her back to that same place. That same ache. The ache of wanting to be seen by someone who doesn't need to look. The ache of earning a moment with a man who gives nothing away. The ache of desire without control. Because that's the paradox that haunts her. She felt the fire, but couldn't touch it. She felt the gravity, but couldn't pull it closer. She felt you, without ever fully having you. And that's the core of the obsession. You weren't desperate. You were disciplined. You weren't chasing her validation. You were living by your values. You weren't looking for her to complete you. You were too busy completing your mission. And whether she admits it or not, that shook her. It rattled the illusion she had of her own power, of her ability to control the dynamic, of being the prize. Because now, for the first time, she's wondering if she was ever enough for you. And that question, it spirals. Because the deeper truth is this. She wasn't obsessed with you. She was obsessed with how she felt in your presence, and how she couldn't recreate that feeling anywhere else. No amount of likes, DMs, or dates could replace it. Because while those other guys were trying to win her, you made her want to earn you. You didn't offer comfort. You offered contrast. You didn't provide emotional candy. You gave her the weight of your calm. And that weight, it lingers. It lingers in the silence after the party. It lingers in the 3 a.m. scroll through her camera roll. It lingers when she hears your name and her chest tightens, just a little. Because deep down, she knows she felt something around you that she hasn't felt since. And the more she tries to replace it, the more she realizes, you weren't performing. You weren't pretending. You were anchored. You didn't walk into the room looking for her. You walked in like you owned the moment. whether she was there or not. That's what burned itself into her mind. That's what echoes now. And that echo? It's louder than any words you could send. So again, don't text her. Don't ask how she's doing. Don't try to see where her head's at, because she already knows. She's been thinking about you. She's been feeling you, even in your silence. You've said more than most men say in a lifetime. You're not gone. You're in her system now, and every man who comes after will have to live in the shadow of the man who never chased her, because he didn't need to. Because that's the cruel twist of the whole thing. The man she can't forget is the one she never fully got. She may scroll past your name. She may roll her eyes when a friend brings you up. She might even say, he was never really serious. But behind that practiced indifference is a memory that refuses to die. A flicker of a moment when she felt something real, uncontrolled, uncalculated, unmatched. You didn't try to impress her. You didn't dance for attention. You weren't even trying to win. And that's exactly why you did. Because obsession doesn't come from comfort. It comes from contrast. You were everything the world told her men weren't anymore. Still, solid, present, a mountain in a world of sand. You weren't needy. You were anchored. You weren't predictable. You were disciplined. You didn't rush in with the perfect line. You stood there and made her wonder. That stillness, that gravity, is what undoes her. Not because she can define it, but because she can't. She's used to decoding men in minutes. She's used to knowing exactly how to control the game. But you flipped the script without even trying. And now the question isn't, what happened to him? It's, what happened to me when I was around him? Because that's the haunting truth she'll never say out loud. It wasn't about you. It was about how she unraveled in your presence. How she lost the mask. How her usual defenses slipped. How, for a split second, she didn't feel like the prize. She felt like the one reaching, the one trying to be seen, the one trying to keep up, the one on the edge. And that's the memory that lingers. Not your words, not your scent, not your smile. The feeling she had when she realized. You didn't need her to validate you. You didn't flinch when she pulled away. You didn't chase. You stayed. Still, calm, unmoved. And in that stillness, you became unforgettable. Not because you forced your way into her life, but because you left her with something she can't shake. The mirror of a man who never asked for her energy, but drew it anyway. Because the moment you stopped trying to be the one she wanted, is the moment you became the one she couldn't stop wanting.